like us to give a round of applause to Wilnelia Rivera, just like you know. Pretend you know her. Pretend she's your sister. Pretend she's your auntie or your mama or your best friend. I am so pleased and honored to introduce Wilnelia to you. Wilnelia is a political and policy campaign director at Neighbor to Neighbor in Boston. In life and career, Wilnelia is the embodiment of women in leadership. Growing up in Lawrence, her childhood was defined by injustice and discrimination. Wilnelia has devoted her career to advancing, improving, and advocating for policies that equally benefit all members of the community. She is a dynamic, innovative, and inspiring leader. And through her work as part of the prominent national Latina organization, Sigma Lambda Upsilon, Señoritas Latinas Unidas, hallelujah. Guess that's the call.
That's the call.
Has helped to mentor, support, and develop Latina leaders at all levels. Wilnelia has received her bachelor's from Tufts University and is currently a master's candidate in urban and environmental policy and planning. We are delighted to have her speak with us today. Wilnelia Rivera.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you that are here today. And if you don't hear me, please give me a sign in the back, because I know it's been kind of hard for you guys back there. So just give me a sign at any point. But I want to start today by saying that it's less about my personal accolades and more about the story that weaves us all together as a community here. A couple of months ago, I checked my voicemail at work, and it was a message from Susanna discussing the YW's annual Tribute to Women's event. In that message, she also shared the board's decision to nominate me as the keynote speaker. At first, I thought, this must be a mistake. I'm pretty good at what I do, but I'm still pretty young at what I'm doing, right? So I checked the message again to make sure it was correct, and clearly here I am. So it was. And as soon as I heard that message, it brought back memories of a very, very long forgotten. Endless afternoons sitting with my friends in the Girls Center, learning how to swim, playing basketball, and yes, driving some of the staff up the wall with my boundless energy. But most importantly, it made me see it was here that a seed was planted in me. I saw when you invest in people, you invest in communities. And given who I am, where I grew up, and what I dedicate my life's work to, it's a moral and social imperative to continue to weave the fabric that empowers girls, women, and their families. It is this seed that has flourished within me to make me what I am today and will make me who I will become tomorrow. But ladies and gentlemen, as most of you know, investment is not a one-stop shop. It requires a pipeline of empowerment that includes mentors, programs, and institutions, both public and private. That's why my story is the story of us and the story of now. Growing up in Lawrence, my childhood was defined by many barriers that most people would have thought I never would have overcome. But living here and growing up in a Dominican and Puerto Rican family, my mother always taught my sisters and I that an education would be our only key to success. But knowing is always harder than doing, especially in a single-parent household. Attending overcrowded public schools with inadequate resources and soaring dropout rates, this silver bullet didn't seem to exist. With a high school degree and endless determination, my mother knew that in addition to our education, she needed to identify the services and programs that would expose us to the reality greater than our physical reach. Whether it was the YW, camp, Upward Bound, sports, or church, my mother knew then that alone we could not reach the elusive American dream. What she didn't know was how much farther behind we were simply because of where we lived. For those of you that are history buffs, and I know some of you are, there was a point in history, at the peak of the Industrial Revolution, when Lawrence was known as the jewel of the Merrimack Valley. Not just a patch, but the jewel. And like many other cities across the Commonwealth and now our country, we became a victim of a new information age and global economy. Yet I always imagined myself here, in this room, with this career and this voice. An imagination deeply nurtured by my mother and countless mentors. But what I could have not foreseen then is how different my life would be for my fellow classmates, and why. How did 800 of us begin high school together and only 370 of us walk across the stage? Not because we weren't smart or hardworking enough, but because we were never given an equal chance to succeed. I got here because of perseverance. I got here because of luck. I got here because, like some of us in this room, we're the exception. Upon making my way to the campus on the hill, known otherwise as Tufts University, that I learned very quickly that success does not have a formula. It has a pattern. And those of us that don't quite fit the stitches of the quilt are often left behind. It was at that time that I chose to dedicate my life to public service and community empowerment. Much to the dismay of my mother at the time, I did not attend law school as I promised her I would. And I became a community organizer. Since then, my life's work has become to leverage my professional capacity to push forward public policy priorities that support the services and programs that shaped and influenced my success. My story is an inspirational and transformative one, but life, unfortunately, for most poor communities of color has not changed much since I first walked through the YW's doors as a 9-year-old. And in some places, we all know, it's become worse. When you're faced with broken schools and scarce economic opportunities, what options are low-income communities left with? Well, this is where it gets a little bit more inspirational. I believe they're left with their most important tools, their voice and their community. This is exactly the mission of the YWCA. The YW understands that when people come together from across the street and around the corner, they can improve the quality of life for one family, one household at a time. And today, we're gathered to celebrate the 24 amazing women leaders that represent this mission. I am humbled and honored to dedicate this day to all of you. With over 8 decades of commitment to public service, whether in your professional or personal lives, each and every one of you are community beacons that individually help stitch the fabric that helps cultivate a better quality of life in our own backyards. Your stories reflect the same pipeline of empowerment that shaped and cultivated my life. Your stories teach us that empowerment requires a lifetime commitment and personal dedication. Whether we have done so by scaling the ladders of corporate America, serving marginalized communities, or transcending poverty, all of us know the critical impact of our work. Each and every one of you in this room understands this, and we're gathered to honor this commitment while supporting the YW. And before I end, I want us all, very briefly, to give a wonderful, wonderful round of applause to all the sheroes and, yes, heroes that make the YWCA board, staff, and family. The tireless dedication of each of you to empower girls, women, and their families reminds me of an old Ghanaian proverb. If you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a family, a nation. Let's take a second to think about this. What is it about investing in women and girls that can educate a family or even a nation? The reason why it matters is that when you invest in women and girls' education, an entire community moves with them. To some, this may feel like empty rhetoric, but the common ground that brings all of us together in this room is that we believe in this statement. And my own history has taught me the same. Only 12 years ago, I walked off the commencement stage at Lawrence High School, carrying then what I thought was countless broken dreams of an entire generation. Now I'm completing my master's at Tufts University while serving low-income families across the Commonwealth and promoting the leadership of women and girls in the private and public sector. Through my journey, I passed up many opportunities for personal gain. For one reason and one reason only. I believe our dreams can no longer be deferred. Because let's face it, 1 or 2 success stories isn't enough. Investing in education for women and girls is necessary to ensure that we break the intergenerational cycle of poverty and move closer to achieving the mission of the YW, to eliminate racism, empower women, and promote peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. Lastly, if you're going to remember anything from what I've shared, let it be the message that when women move forward, a community moves with them. Together, we will continue to have a transformative impact on a generation of women, girls, and their families so that we can continue building a pipeline for empowerment. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask YW's Deputy Director, Lee Woodbury, to join me, and we'll share a few words on shaping the future for young women.
Oh boy, it's really nice to follow someone like Cornelia. What an inspiration. I knew this was going to happen to me. It happens every time. I have my notes. Susan said, stay on your notes. And then this is what happens. She is so inspiring. She has moved me so much because this is why we do what we do. Because this is the result of what we do. So again, thank you, Cornelia. I also just want to take a moment so that I can personally acknowledge all of the honorees that are here. You're extraordinary, as this happens every year. It's my favorite day of the whole year because then I get regenerated for the rest of the year for the next time that I can meet such inspiring women that make such an extraordinary difference. Thank you for being who you are. And just as a little aside, whoever your employer is, they should give you the day off today. This is about you today. So take more than 5 minutes to congratulate yourself, recognize yourself, and celebrate yourself because you deserve that. And everybody down there was all excited. Be excited again for them, would you please? Okay, I'm going to try to get back in the script now. Whoops, I have to start with page 1. Oh, here we go. The world of today is much smaller than the one most of us grew up in. And because of our exposure to the world through modern technology, like the internet, Facebook, Twitter, change is happening literally every moment at the speed of light. Everything is happening in real time, and young girls are bombarded with an overload of information. Because of this and many other factors, they already think and act differently from all of those who went before them. But keep in mind, this is the only world that they know. This is what they're growing up with. They are part of the largest youth generation the world has ever seen. There are 600 million adolescent girls in the world today. And while girls in the United States are more educated, socially connected, and empowered more than ever before, many girls in developing countries still struggle for the opportunity to go to school, to see a doctor, or to be involved in any way in their communities. This is just wrong. We want our girls at the YWCA to know that they are now citizens of the world, and they have a role to play in it. We want them to learn to see themselves as future leaders who have the capacity and the capability to work together with other girls around the world to change how young girls are perceived, to enable girls to take their rightful place at the table and to be able to speak up for themselves. In reaching out to help others, we believe they will also see themselves differently. Sometimes we get a little bit caught up in where we are. Well, Nelia referred to it a little bit. We're born where we're born. We didn't pick it here, and where you're born has a lot to say about where you go and where you can go and what you can do. We know that each girl that we serve has the potential to literally change the world in which they live. And that begins by looking beyond yourself. Looking beyond what is to what can be. If you talk with the girls in our programs, and we do every day, this is what you'll hear. I want to do things that matter. I do not want to be a statistic or a stereotype. I want to have a voice, and I want to be heard. I am creative, I am smart. And I want to move ahead, and I want to become a leader. Our schools are full of those girls, in Lawrence and everywhere else, and we need to be there for them. At the YWCA, self-leadership skills are encouraged and modeled at all ages. All our girls are encouraged to value themselves and their abilities. They're encouraged to dream big dreams, not little dreams, big ones, and to see themselves as playing a prominent role in the future. They do discover the importance of having a voice and knowing how to use that voice. And they can use that voice to make their world and our world a better place. We want each one of our girls to know what we in this room already know, that anything is possible and that there are no limits to what each of us can do. They can make a difference in their own lives, in the lives of their families, in their schools, in their communities, and yes, they can make a difference in the world. They can become the leaders of tomorrow. But they cannot do that without support and guidance. So what they need most, guess what? What they need most is us. All of us in this room. All of you in your homes, in your families, in your schools, in your communities. They need us. They need us to believe in them, to nurture and guide them, to encourage them at every step of the way. They need us to continue to be the positive role models that they can aspire to become, and to always listen to what they have to say. But most of all, they need us to care enough to really get involved, to commit ourselves to making a difference in their lives, and to challenge others around us to do the same. Shaping the futures of young leaders is more important today than ever before. And it's for this reason that I'm here to ask for your support today. Well, Nelia, you were right when you said your story was the story of us and the story of now. And I want you and all of our honorees to know that the seeds that you have all planted will continue to grow in the lives of the girls that we serve at the YWCA, and that it will not be long before they're sitting where you're sitting right now. We have proof of that right here. This is so exciting for me. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you to make a donation to the YWCA in any amount, cash or check, to help us continue the critical work that we do in developing young leaders in the YWCA Girls Center. I'm asking you to care enough and to challenge those around you to do the same. Under your coffee cup saucer, you'll find an envelope marked Shaping the Future of Young Women. Please put your donation in that envelope and seal it. Write your name and email address on the outside so that we can properly thank you for your gift. Each table will need a table captain, somebody in charge at the table. I know we're all good at that, so just pick somebody. To collect all the donations and to put them in the large white envelope under the centerpiece. In a few minutes, we'll come around to collect the envelope from you. And as our way of saying thank you to the table captain, you get to take home the centerpiece. On behalf of, in advance of your gift, on behalf of the many young women who will become our future leaders, I thank you for your generosity and commitment to their future. So please take a few moments to make your gift to us.